So we have a big fat list of rooms. We can switch between them, which updates the URL. We can also just browse directly to a URL and get that one. But we do have a problem when we refresh like this. At least we do when it's deployed. At least one I saw did. Let's make sure we're looking at the morning version here. No, we don't have this problem. Seems to be an afternoon-only problem. Well, too bad for them. I wonder what we did differently. Oh, I know. Well, no, that's not it. Interesting. Okay. Huh. Well, they have a problem we don't have. At least I thought they did. Refresh. Oh, no, that's totally good. All right. Well, we don't have that problem. But we do have the problem that we don't get the description of the room along with the name, right? So let's try fixing that. So we could lift the state up all the way to main. It is presently, I believe, in room list itself. So here's where the list of rooms is in state. So we could do that. So this doesn't have to be super complicated. There's room list. Here's main. Just add rooms to state over here. So now we've got the current room as well as the list of all rooms. And in this one, component did mount. All we do is load the room out of the URL params. But we could also start syncing state with that here. So let's just move this into there. So we'll just sync the list of rooms, which actually we should probably do first. So make sure we import base from base. Over here. All right, now we're syncing that in main. In addition to room list, we'll take it out of room list here in a minute. So we start syncing state, and when that's finished, we want to load the current room. We want to change the way that we do that. So that's the whole point. Well, let's see if we basically got this working. Let's look at main. Main, state. Now we have room and rooms, and rooms, sure enough, has the whole list. I just put base.sync state in component did mount. So we were syncing state with rooms in room list. Now we just need to do that in main. The idea is that load room will receive room name instead of an entire room object. At least that's what I was thinking. And then what we do is something like this. Const room equals this.state.rooms square bracket room name. Do you get the idea? So the way this.state.rooms stores them, it's not an array, it's an object, and the keys are the room names. Let's look at that. So here's this.state.rooms. And see, the keys are the names of the rooms. So we can just look them up by room name and get the description and name and anything else we wanted to put in there. Right, so that'll set it that way. There's one issue I can pretty much immediately think of. This also gives us an opportunity to have it not work if that room doesn't exist. Let's see what happens. And yeah, immediately it breaks because it says cannot read property name of undefined room.name. Why? What's that? A little louder, please. I'm sorry. And component data, yeah. We're passing an object in quite a few places. We're passing an object everywhere right now. Yeah. So instead of passing this object with a name, we just pass the name itself, right? So we didn't actually update the way we were doing this. So every place we call load room, we need to just pass in the name instead of the entire room object. Where else are we doing that? Are we doing that anywhere else? Nope, just those two places. Cool. Okay, it still explodes. So it says name of undefined, which means room is undefined. Can anyone think without really troubleshooting it much what could be the problem here? Yeah? The rooms haven't synced yet. So as soon as we run component did mount, we call base.syncState, and then we immediately call this.loadRoom with that name, which then tries to get that name out of this.state.rooms, but Firebase hasn't finished loading them yet. Because sync state happens asynchronously. It happens in the background. It doesn't wait until it hears back from Firebase before it runs the next line of code. So this load room will run immediately. And even though the Firebase thing happens pretty darn fast, it doesn't happen absolutely instantaneously. So that is the problem. This is happening asynchronously, and we're not waiting for it to finish. So probably if we look at the documentation for Rebase, here we go. We can see something about this. So sync state's what we're doing. So I'm just going to search the page for sync state. Here we go. Sync state has a bunch of options. The second argument here, that's the options. Looks like one of them is then. So this thing doesn't, or at least the documentation doesn't indicate that it gives a promise, and I suppose it doesn't because it's the return value is this binding thing. So the way it allows us to do asynchronous stuff is with this then option. So you can actually add an option called then and give it a function. The callback function will be invoked when the initial listener is established with Firebase. Typically used with sync state to change this.state.loading to false. So you could also have a spinner that goes until it stops loading. So a lot of times with sync state, you'll use the then function to keep track of whether it's currently loading data, and then you can like show a spinner so that they know that you're waiting on something. But we could use it right now to call this when it's finished. So it needs to be a function, and we'll call load room in that function. Get it? So I know Bill did this last night because he was slacking me about it. Plus, he answered the questions. Anybody else happen to do this? Anybody else discover? Sorry to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you tried. I'm glad to hear that after 3 hours you got nowhere. Did I say, I'm sorry to hear that? That's what I said, right? Yeah. Okay, I didn't say I was glad that you wasted 3 hours. Okay. Now, refresh the page, and it seems to go to that room. So you see it takes it a second, right? But it works. So that's cool. That one took a little time. If we were concerned about that, we could always store the current room in local storage and load it up real fast. That might be good. But yeah, that basically does the trick. Refresh, and we go straight to that room. I'm satisfied with that. This is a really long name here. We could always, of course, extract that out. Props.match.params. Cool. Make sure I didn't just break it. Fresh. Very good. And yeah, we have descriptions now. Very good. Lift rooms state up to main and load room descriptions. Basically what we did. So questions about that? Yeah.
I found out this method will trigger a bug when you try to create a new room.
Mm-hmm.
URL for a create room is like rooms/new, and which we don't have that room object. So
Well, let's see what happens here. Yeah, now we have a problem with room/new. So that happened to be fine before. Now that's a problem. So room/new does match the route rooms general. So we can deal with that.